friends, and welcome back to another episode of Beautifully Nerding. As you all know, I'm usually a Netflix, Hulu, Prime kind of girly. I don't usually stray too far from what I know. I might add a Disney Plus in there from time to time. But I was out to eat the other day and I looked up at the TV and saw some really cool animation and I was like, hold on, guess. And usually when it comes to Marvel or DC, I always say it depends. Like when it comes to live action movies, usually Marvel can't be touched. But animation, DCU always has it in the bag. So when I found out that this random cartoon was actually a DC animated show on HBO Max called Creature Commandos, I was like, yeah, go ahead and sign me up. So the log line for the show is it follows a group of military superhumans composed by a human leader, a werewolf, a vampire, Frankenstein's monster, and a gorgon. And it's really giving Suicide Squad, but making Monster Mash. Like if you're picking up what I'm putting down. So at the time of recording, there are currently 2 episodes available. I watched them both. The animation was kind of giving Invincible a little bit. Like as I kept watching, I don't know if I saw it anymore. But when it first started, I was like, ooh, this looks like Invincible. I think I just missed that show because I do love Invincible and I'm very excited for it to come back. But anyway, back to Creature Commandos. So the story sees Cersei wanted to take over Themyscira, and Amanda Waller has a plan to send in a team to stop her. So she got in trouble previously for sending in incarcerated humans as, you know, the Suicide Squad and getting people killed to do the dirty work. And so she was like, I'm just going to find a loophole. We're not going to send humans in.
I thought Congress put a stop to all Task Force X activities since your daughter outed you.
Technically, Congress said Argus can't use incarcerated human beings as mission operatives any longer. But what about beings that aren't human?
Huh?
So our sinister team is comprised of various monsters. We have the Bride, Dr. Phosphorus, Weasel, G.I. Robot, and Nina Mazursky, or Task Force M. And the leader of the group is actually Flag Sr., who is the father of Rick Flag from the Suicide Squad movie. So really this is all falling into the same timeline as our live action DC universe. And I definitely find that interesting because while I'm not the biggest person who's like, no, these are the strict rules of the, I do want to see how we're gonna commingle, because any of our like Marvel heads know when it was just the movies, it was pretty easy to keep up with. But once you started getting the TV shows and Disney Plus and all that stuff, it was really hard to keep up with where that information was coming from, because information was coming from so many different places. So hopefully DC will learn from those mistakes and not do that, because it'll get real confusing, because I don't know if I have the bandwidth to watch everything. So the first episode is them going on their first mission, learning each other, all of the Force team building shenanigans. And that first mission is actually to protect the princess of Pokolistan. They said it so fast, and the only reason I even knew how to write it down was because I had captions on. But the mission is to protect the princess to avoid a larger geopolitical financial issue if she were to, it's about oil and money and capitalism and all that good stuff. And I was like, so, okay, sure. It was given Star Wars with the explanation of it, and I was like, I just make stuff explode. I don't care no more. But I will say, I do not trust the princess. Like, immediately that first one-on-one conversation that the princess had with Flag, I was like, I don't like it. She came on real strong, real fast, and I was like, this feels like a trap. I don't know if she's in cahoots with Cersei, but something they write in the soup and I don't trust it.
I'm sure your son was a fine man, but I'm much more fond of older men. I'd like to show you something.
But in a side story, the Bride and Nina go for a ride into a different part of town where the Bride was actually born at, because, you know, she's the bride of Frankenstein, so she went through the same kind of bringing to life transformation that Frankenstein went through. So that's where she was born. And I've actually never watched or read anything about the Bride of Frankenstein, so I don't know what the actual like canonical event is in that part of media. But in our DC story, I don't want to spoil it for you because I don't actually know what happens in like the other parts of media, but Frankenstein's monster is like, hey bro, like, you have a wife, you get to be in love. I would like a wife as well. Why can't I be in love? And Dr. Frankenstein is like, I don't think we should do this, but they do it anyway. And shenanigans ensue. I don't want to get too much into it, but there is necrophilia. Just let's keep that in mind. But long story short, the bride does not want Frankenstein's monster. They call him Frankenstein in the show, but I've been so conditioned to call him Frankenstein's monster that I literally cannot. So the bride and the monster play this game of cat and mouse for like 200 years where she's just like, leave me alone. And he's like, but I love you. And if you don't think too hard into it of how terrifying this stalker situation is, it's funny. Right, because it's a comedy, and they're like, we keep finding each other. Like, how did you find me? I ran away from you, but I found you again. Don't think too hard into it. So yeah, that's the bride's backstory, which lets us know that I'm pretty sure each episode is going to have a different team member's backstory. So we're at least probably gonna get 8 or so episodes. I don't fully know the count. I don't like to look up the episode counts because then it'll have like the titles, and then like the titles be spoilers sometimes, and I don't want any spoilers. So back in present day, we do get to see a very awesome display of the bride's badassery. Like, she's pretty much the muscle of the group, and she's taking on Cersei and the goons while protecting Nina, because Nina is like a fish lady and she's not super strong on land. So I'm sure there's going to be an episode where we see her in water and see her, like, you know, kicking butt and taking names. But she was more of the moral compass of the group. So the bride has to protect her. Unfortunately, things do go sideways. Nina and the bride are captured, and the rest of the team has to go and save them. So those are the first 2 episodes. I'm definitely going to finish it, but I will say there were a few parts that I did not care for. And that was the sex. There's a sex scene in each episode, and I hope that is a trend that does not continue. There's a scene that's like really overly gratuitous, and we technically don't see that one. It's happening behind a door. And there is one that actually does drive the plot of, you know, giving some backstory of why someone feels the way that they do. I understand that sometimes you have to have these relationships as character building devices, but I personally don't think we have to have the overt display of it. I just don't feel like there have to be literal sex scenes, you know? I feel like we can understand that romance and love was there without the physicality of it. Like, I feel like James Gunn and the team were just really excited to do a TVMA animated series, and they were like, boss of the wall, we're doing everything, titties and all. And it's just like, do we have to? Like, you know, it could just be my neurospicy mind that's just like, I don't like this. I don't like how this feels. I don't like it. So, you know, it's whatever. Just know what's there. So, you know, if you're watching this, I hope you're not watching with kids, because it is very bloody. It's definitely one of those, like, just because it's animated does not mean it's for kids. But yeah, I'm definitely going to finish it, if for no other reason than to figure out how Frankenstein's monster becomes a part of the team, because he's not in the initial lineup, but he is in the title sequence that shows like who all makes up the team. And I'm just like, how did the bride let you be on the team? So I'm really interested to see how that goes. And yeah, so again, the show is on HBO Max, which I refuse to just call Max, because the home box office is the more important part of it. If you all have watched it, please feel free to leave a comment down below about how you felt about it. What are some recommendations for shows that you would like for me to talk about? And if nothing else, I'll catch y'all next time. Bye.